Hi, I'm Anna Watt, and today I'm going to talk to you about my story in a box. My first theme is fairy tales that have a modern retelling. So the first one is Night Books. It is a retelling of Hansel and Gretel. The activity for that book is a scary story plot generator. So my sample one ended up being The Curse of the Fuzzy Knife. So that's a pretty fun activity for that one. The second book is Ash. It is a retelling of Cinderella with a bisexual Cinderella, and she's involved in a love triangle. The activity for that is having students choose one of their favorite fairy tales and do their own modern retelling with some things to include. The last one is Cinder. It is another Cinderella retelling with a cyborg Cinderella, and this is actually the beginning of a series that involves a lunar war. And my activity for that is showing students several videos, getting them to think about what the original Cinderella is and what it does for the story to have a cyborg be a Cinderella character as opposed to the traditional character of Cinderella. My second theme is books that have been made into movies, with the first one of To All the Boys I Loved Before, where her love letters to boys that she's loved get sent out and drama ensues. My activity for that one is that students will write a love letter to a crush of theirs, whether that is a former crush or a current crush, and they can choose whether or not to send it themselves. My second one is Dumplin', where a plus-size teenager enters a beauty pageant, much to her mother's dismay. And the activity is to read the article by the director and then have a discussion about plus-size representation in books and media. The third book is The Hate U Give, and this is a book about a teenager who witnesses her childhood friend be killed in front of her as a teenager, and her uprising as the police officer is not dealt with properly. And then I've paired it with 3 TED Talks that you can show students and lead a discussion about race in America and within their own community. The third theme is books in poetic form. The first one is Long Way Down, involving a teenager on his way down in an elevator, debating whether or not he should kill the teenager who killed his brother in gang violence. So with that book and some of the powerful imagery, I'm having them do a feelings journal to really process the emotions they feel as they read that book. The second book is The Poet X. It is a book about surviving high school and her love of poetry. And it kind of ends with her parents not really knowing a big secret that her and her brother are carrying. So an example activity for this would be to plan a sequel to the book so that they can kind of flesh out what we've learned in the book so far. The third book is Solo. It is about a teenager dealing with the notoriety of his former rock star father and his own dreams of being a musician. And in an effort to get students to think about poetry, they are creating their own blackout poetry where they keep the words they want and they black out the rest. And they can use newspaper paper, or they can use old book pages like this one. The fourth theme is graphic novels. And the first one is New Kid, where he is an underprivileged kid that has a scholarship to a fancy private school. And he learns a lot about friendship along the way. And so they are writing about friendship, what they learned from it in the book. They're writing their own figurative language, and then they're drawing and animating that in graphic novel form. The second one is March. This is also a series, and it is about the civil rights movement. It's nonfiction. And so to get them thinking about the graphics within the books, I'm encouraging them to use this worksheet to really anticipate what are characters thinking within certain scenes, to really process the graphics as they're reading it before they start looking at the actual wording of thoughts, but like processing what the graphic images mean. The third one is They Called Us Enemy, which is also nonfiction. And this has a lot of historical relevance. So I'm pairing it with a list of the LA Times discussion questions for the book to really get them to think about what they took away from the history of it, since there's so many details. So that's the fourth one. And the last one is books on mental illness. The first one is All the Bright Places, which involves a relationship where one of the characters is bipolar and all that entails. And so I'm encouraging students to create their own fan art for this book. I'm not super artistic, but I think this article walks them through pretty clearly what constitutes fan art. The second one is A List of Cages, where a teenager is being physically abused by his uncle, whom he lives with, and some of his PTSD once he overcomes that abuse. And so the activity I'm pairing with it is significant stars. It's having them analyze the quotes that are important to them and it kind of stood out to them as they read each chapter. And then the last book is Made You Up, about a girl who is schizophrenic, but she is currently on her medicine and is doing well, yet she is struggling to uncover what is real and what is not real in her own life. And so because she's on a good path when she starts out and she's so focused on taking her medicine and doing well, I paired that with a vision board activity for students to think about where they want to be in their own lives. And then I took a picture of my own vision board that I have put on my wall recently. So those are the 5 books. Those are the 5 themes. I hope you enjoy.